Alright, so unfortunately, it looks like that experiment blew up a coil. You can clearly see where it cracked, and I didn't quite get it on film, but there was a lot of smoke coming out of it. I didn't do any testing yet, but there's a good chance it took out our quad spark box too. So I'm probably going to have to grab another one of those. They're not expensive, but just annoying enough that I have to buy a new one, and something I did broke. I'm not surprised that it broke, but it broke. Next up, just from cranking it, we got to put some more oil in it because I had to drain the oil out when I removed that from the car originally. So we have to deal with that too. Would hate to starve this thing and render all these efforts useless. Alright, so we got our wideband powered up. So per the manual, it's heating up the sensors right now, and after 30 seconds or so, this is going to start calibrating itself. There we go. Looks like bank B is already calibrating. So we should be able to... Yeah, I'm not quite sure how hot they're supposed to get or where. Okay, 70 something. All right. Well, it's hotter than room temp, so we'll just leave that alone. Looks like it's calibrating itself to the oxygen. So for those that aren't familiar, you have to calibrate your oxygen sensors every so often on this system. And I think that's just because, you know, these are designed to be high performance applications, and the sensors wear out a little faster than they would on like a Toyota. So they want you to calibrate them. Looks like here's the calibration schedule. So nothing crazy here. Twice a year or every 10,000 miles. So for most of us, that's, you know, we're going to be hitting that year requirement before the mileage, I would imagine. But all right, this is showing some values, so I guess we are good to go on that. Well, that ought to do it. Alright, so our new flywheel's here, and you can see the difference pretty clearly once you get a little close to it. So our old unit just had these 3 massive teeth, and this one has 60 teeth. So this flywheel could actually support enough resolution to run completely sequential injection, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I wired them up to go semi-sequential. I figured that would be fine for this. The sensors were a little hard to get out, so I'm going to leave these in for test purposes, but I'm probably going to put new ones in once this is ready to go in the car. But even looking back here, everything looks like it's in pretty good shape. I know obviously this is hidden from the elements for just about all of its life, but still really shows you, you know, how tough these engines are. And they're pretty damn tough. I'm going to put this back in, and then we're going to see if we can measure some activity and see if anything goes in sync with what the computer says. So let's see what we get. Alright, so I plugged this in just for curiosity. For those that don't know, this is an oscilloscope. You can use it to measure pulses on sensors if you think that you have a problem with either a bad sensor or something reading erratically due to other factors. In this case, maybe an erratic flex plate signal. But yeah, let's see what we get here. I think I have it dialed in. So we have 3 wires here. The 2 on the left there that are in view right now, those are just the inputs from the crank sensor. And I don't know if this is giving accurate information or not, but the one on the right is an external sync. So in this case, that's actually directly going, look, it's hanging on by a thread, but that's actually going from the tach. So I don't know if it's going to be good. and the whole reason I'm testing this is because I got some erratic input from the RPM readings. But it might be because it was cranking for too long, and the voltage dips below a certain amount when you're cranking it for too long. But yeah, let's let's have a look at this together. So this is future me cutting in real quick because I didn't explain this very well, and this is very important, especially if you're watching this and you're thinking about uh, doing the same setup on whatever engine that you do, but you use Megasquirt. So Megasquirt's pretty cool in the sense that it's able to just internally calculate what each one of those teeth mean on the flex plate, but what it can't calculate and you have to figure out is what that means in relation to that first tooth. So, so let's say like you have your flex plate here, right? And there's a gap in the teeth. You have to basically figure out how to tell Megasquirt how many degrees before or after hitting that first tooth that top dead center is. It can do all the calculations from there. All your base timing can be adjusted from there and your ignition settings. But what you have to do to get the computer to just mechanically know what's what is you have to calculate that. For example, if you have a 60 tooth flex plate with 2 teeth missing, technically you only have 58 teeth, but you still call it a 60 tooth. And the reason you call it that is because that name implies that all of the teeth are the same size. And that's really the important part. So, for example, on a 60 tooth, I think on the M120 V12, I used crank sensor number 1, bank 1, to do all my calculations. I did all the first bank for all of the sensors. Even the cam sensor was pulling from bank 1. All the bank 2 stuff is just a bonus. But anyway, I think it came out to about 78 degrees. The Megasquirt wants you to turn your engine to top dead center. Don't worry about the distributor being 180 out or anything. Just turn it to top dead center. And then what you'll do from there is you have to look on the back of your engine, and you have to, I also recommend you use your first sensor, by the way. There's no reason to use the second one, in my opinion. It's just going to make everything more complicated. I guess maybe it wouldn't mathematically, but anyway, what you'll do is you set the engine to top dead center, and then you're going to count the number of teeth in the direction of rotation. So basically, like let's say the engine rotates this way, and top dead center is like right up here at the 12 o'clock position, and your tooth number 1 is over here. So that means you start here at your sensor, which is here, and you're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever until you're at that first tooth. This was really confusing, and I screwed it up a couple times, but I figured it out, and luckily I didn't break anything in the process, I don't think. But so a 60 tooth wheel has, I think it said it was like 6 degrees for every gap in the teeth or something like that. So what you'll do is they want you to multiply the number of gaps by the number of degrees that each gap in the tooth picks up. So in the case of the M120 V12, if you set your engine to top dead center, and I'm giving this away for free, but I probably shouldn't be because I could just charge you guys for this config file. But I want to see more people doing this, so I'm not really looking to make money on that. But what you do is you set your engine to top dead center, and then you're going to count from your sensor number 1. You count your gaps in your teeth all the way to that first tooth. And remember, what Megasquirt considers the first tooth, and listen to this, is the first tooth that hits that sensor after the gap. So that's why the direction of rotation is really important here. And you also have to count in that direction. But once you set your engine at top dead center and you count, you're going to run into, I think, 13 gaps. And because you have your 60-tooth flex plate, you're going to multiply 13 by 6, and you're going to get 78 degrees. So you basically what you're just doing is you're telling Megasquirt that 78 degrees after that engine hits that first tooth, that's top dead center. And now you just figured out how to do your base timing. So now that I gave you that for free, let's go back in the past and watch that older idiot version of me figure this out. I've kind of been playing around with it a little bit, and I think we're going to be able to get it to fire. Just on starter fluid for now. I don't know if I'm comfortable rigging up fuel on an engine stand like that and letting it run for prolonged periods of time. But let's see what it'll do. I'm pretty sure I calculated my timing angle correctly. So let's see what we get here. Should at least kick over a couple seconds. Thirsty girl, that's all we get. Alright, so one thing I didn't do properly that I thought I did was I had to count the cam angle. Not the cam angle, the tooth angle. Basically, the computer needs to know basically where the position is at on this tooth wheel. Here, I'll try to clear this out of the way for you. So, Megasquirt basically wants you to count the gaps. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 13 gaps until tooth number 1 hits the sensor again. And remember, we're using bank 1 as our crank sensor, not bank 2. So this one right over here. This one's actually not plugged in. So we have 13 gaps in the teeth, and we want to multiply that by 6. And I think that gives us 78, which basically means at 78 degrees from where that tooth is where top dead center is. And then that gives the computer everything it needs to build its calculations for the ignition tables and all that. So as you can see, we got that figured out, but of course now the real fun starts, which is getting this ready to actually